Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya-madhyamam Asmadacharya-paryantam Vande Guru-paramparam. Ramo Rajamani Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Bihata Nishacharachamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha. Ramannasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham. Rame Chittalaya Sada Bhavatu Me Bho Rama Mamuddhara. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram. Hari Om everyone. Welcome back after the break. Let us chant the first three verses of Sadhana Panchakam. Vedo nityamadhiyatam taduditam karma swanushthiyatam tene shasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam papaughah paridhuyatam bhavasukhe dosho nusandhiyatam Atmecha vyavasiyatam nijagruhat turnam vinirgamyatam sangasatsu vidhiyatam bhagavato bhaktir drudhadhiyatam shantyadif parichiyatam drudataram karmashu santyajyatam sadvidvanupasrupyatam pratidinam Tatpaduka sevyatam brahmaikaksharamardhyatam shrutishiro vakyam samakarnyatam vakyarthascha vicharyatam shrutishirah pakshas samashriyatam dustarkat suviramyatam shrutimatastarko nusandhiyatam Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam aharahar garvah parityajyatam deheham matirujhyatam buddhajanair vadah parityajyatam. All the sadhanas which are mentioned before verse number 3, if we look at it, what transition happens from the second verse to the third verse? So from first verse until end of the second verse, the process is from going from a troubling mind to a beautiful mind. And third verse onwards is the process of transcending the mind. This is, the general flow of thought in most of the texts that we study. Sadhanas will be mentioned such that we are able to make our mind our friend. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says there are two types of minds. One mind is that which, having cultured, nurtured, educated, that mind becomes our friend. So first type of mind, he says, is a friendly mind. And the second type, he says, that mind which is not under our control, that mind is our own enemy. One is mitravat, like a friend, and second is directly an enemy. There is no in between state. Either mind is our friend or mind is our enemy. There is no indifferent state of mind where it is, neither of both. Means a mind which is not demanding too much attention, that mind becomes our friend. In whatever task I'm doing, if my mind readily comes along with me and supports me in accomplishing that task, that mind is my friend. And on the other hand, if that mind wants to do what it wants to do, then it becomes my enemy. So all the sadhanas that have been discussed before, they are to help us tune our mind. And while doing that, it's not going to be an easy journey. That is why Bhagwan gave this sadhana, Bhagavato Bhaktir Dudhadhiyatam. We should not try it on our own. We should put our effort, but always seek Bhagwan's help. Whenever we need to seek any shelter or support, we should ask the question, is the support by itself stable? Or does that support also depend on something else? Means if that support itself is unstable and I am holding on to that support, how long can I hold on to it? So that support, which is the most stable support that we can seek, that is Bhagavan. No matter where we are, no matter how many times we have fallen, Bhagavan says, I am here to help. Just you seek, my support. So like this, several sadhanas were mentioned. Now with those sadhanas, this sadhaka's mind has become very fine-tuned. And Vedanta says, having a beautiful mind, having a good personality is not the end of our pursuit. It's one of the intermediate steps, but it is not the final step. What is the final step? Transcending the mind. And transcending the mind happens through knowledge. By knowing what is the nature of this mind, it is not different from consciousness. So that portion is the portion of knowledge where Mahavakya Shravanam has to be done. So second verse, that last sadhana was Shruti Shiro Vakyam Samakarnyatam. Listen to Mahavakya thoroughly and understand what is the import of Mahavakya. Knowing that I am that pure consciousness in which this entire creation, including this mind, is appearing. And this division, we should make it clear that when we are talking about sadhana, we should discuss thoroughly about sadhana. We should not bring Paramartha Vastu, means talking about Nirguna Brahma and mixing it up with sadhana. We should not mix in that way. And when we are discussing about the nature of truth, we should be thorough in what is the nature of truth. There we should not mix it up with Vyavahara. It dilutes the content of either. If you mix Paramartha and sadhana, it dilutes the effect of sadhana. It has its own role, it has its own glory. And when it comes to knowledge, knowledge also has its own glory. So there we should have clear understanding of what is Vedanta trying to tell us. So having heard this Mahavakya, it is not that we understand everything right by hearing. There are a lot of questions that come, doubts that come. So then the suggestion was, do mananam. Make those ideas, we should make those ideas as our own ideas, leaving the book aside, leaving the shloka. Shloka actually, if it's there in the head, it is ideal, because then word by word you can just bring back that idea and then dwell on it more and more, staying in a contemplative mood for a longer time. And while doing that, there might be contradictions between what and what, between what is my experience and what Vedanta is telling me. When there is a contradiction between both of them, Bhagwan says, let us always take side of Vedanta. Let us establish in our intellect the ideas that are given to us by Vedanta. And there we can use lot of logic. What example we saw, right? I am not this body. Now this is a statement that we have heard in Vedanta. Now to establish that, we can use different types of logic. Either you say, like how we saw last time, that I don't call this idli, sambar and everything which is there in my plate, that I don't call as me. And this body which I say as me is the same food, modified in one form. So, these things, if it is outside, I don't call as me. How do I call this body as me? Recently, I had to apply for my passport renewal. And there was one category which said change of appearance. And I said, change of appearance, I have not changed. So I said, none. And I sent the application. So then they came back saying that you should submit another affidavit saying that you have changed. And actually then I saw, my photograph then and now. I myself was wondering, is it the same person, looking at the photograph? But it's very interesting. We never feel we have changed. That feeling of not changing is because of that consciousness. Even if body is changing, we never feel that we have changed. So these things, we should sit down and think again. That 10 years ago, it's almost, why almost? Medical science only tells us, right? We have a new body every 7 years. So it's a new person as though. But there is some entity in us which has not changed. Vedanta says we should inquire into that entity. So like this, when we are doing inquiry into different aspects, Vedanta or Bhagwan Shankaracharya ji here is telling us that we should always take the side of Vedanta. Dustarkat suviramyatam. Let us stay away from dustarka. This also we saw, what is dustarka? Huh? Bringing up some reasoning to justify what is our conviction. Something like that. And then he says, Shrutimatas tarkono sandhiyatam. Now the student is asking, are you telling me that I should not use logic at all? Are you telling me that I should just believe, blind faith, whatever Vedanta is saying? No, no, no. Vedanta says use hair-splitting logic. But in logic, there are many aspects. Okay, logic is a very beautiful subject to think about. Meaning whenever the mind gets trained to think in logical terms, it will never make any random statement. It will never declare something and just stop there. That declaration, right, what we want to prove, that is called as pratijna. And following that pratijna, you have to give a logical reason. That is called as hetu. And following both of them, we have to give an example which aligns with the reason that we have given. That is called as drishtanta. And there are several aspects, but after these three main components come together, you get the conclusion of what you had originally declared or what pratijna you had done, right? This is what I want to prove. Now, Bhagwan is telling us that whenever you use logic, let your pratijna, the thing that you want to prove, always be a statement from Shastra. Let it not be our own, ideas or thoughts, which logic can be used to prove that, but Bhagavan says that is not our purpose. Let statements be from Upanishad. I am not this body. That is a statement from Shastra. Now you give a reason for that. Because body undergoes change. Hetu. Drishtanta, you can give any example. You can say, generally example of a pot is given, but any object you can take. Whatever is undergoing change, that gets destroyed. So I am that consciousness which will never get destroyed, which is unchanging. That is why I am not this body. So like this, there are different ways of doing tarka, but it should be aligned with Shastra. And Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, is a very beautiful chapter. Many of you might have studied this. There are a lot of examples and logic that is given, but to prove something which is said in Shastra. Like the student, if he has the doubt, right? If I don't see something, how can I believe in that thing? I don't see Brahman. So how can you say Brahman is there? There is something called as Brahman. There is something called as consciousness. Because whatever I see, that is what I believe in. Now the teacher is very, experimental teacher. Rishi, Upanishad Rishi. So he goes inside in the kitchen, probably gets a glass of water, and before the student has seen, he mixes salt in it. And he brings it outside and tells the student, now you can stare at this glass of water and tell me what is there in that water. Now the student must have stared for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No matter how much he stares, he cannot know by seeing what is mixed in that water. Then the teacher asks him to taste it, with a spoon. And then he asks, do you see what is there? He says, yes, it is salty. Now the teacher says, for knowledge of a particular thing, you need a very specific means of knowledge. So to know that there is salt in water, you cannot use your eyes to know that there is salt mixed in water. You have to use your tongue to get that knowledge. So he says, in the same way, to gain knowledge of Brahman, to know what is the nature of consciousness, don't use your eyes, use Shastra as pramana, which are valid means of knowledge. So like this, there are different ways of doing Shrutimatas Tarka. Okay, that logic which will help us get conviction in Shruti. And once it happens, nobody can shake after that. No matter what opinion it is, we'll be able to put things in perspective. Now, once this knowledge has been heard, Shravanam has been done, it has been reflected upon again and again on our own, with group of people, everything. Then comes the third step, which is to own up this knowledge in a very firm way. That is called as Nididhyasanam. In English, closest translation is Vedantic meditation. Meditation is of several types. The one that is spoken here is that Nididhyasanam. There comes a stage in sadhaka's life, once sufficient Shravanam has been done, once Mananam also has been done, study groups, attending, everything is done. But yet, when the sadhaka looks at his life, he starts feeling that I'm able to explain Vedanta, but yet my previous ways of thinking have not changed. When a situation comes in front of me, I end up using the same methods that I was using before. Some change is there, not that nothing has happened. Response time might be less and so on. Reaction might be different and everything. But yet, I don't think of myself primarily as pure consciousness. My primary identity is I am this body, I am this mind. And now and then, whenever I get to hear Vedanta or discuss, then this thought comes that I am consciousness, I am Sakshi. So that's a very precise problem, and it has a very precise solution. So at that time, more Shravanam is not needed. More discussion is not needed. There are no doubts, actually speaking. But we should be very careful, whether we have reached that stage or not. There should be an honest analysis of doing that. But once that stage has been reached, Bhagwan Shankaracharya is telling that we should sit down in one place and have a very focused session of meditation. Now, what should we do in meditation? Bhagwan says there are two aspects to it. One is we should know what to meditate on. And second is we should increase our ability to sit, or you can flip it around. First is we should increase our ability to sit in one place, and having sat down, we should know what to meditate on. So how to increase our ability to sit down in one place? Many a times we have this question, right? That even for me to sit down for meditation is so difficult. So there are some guidance, there is some guidance which is given in our Shastra. The first one is to have moderation in different activities. Starting from eating, going all the way until the interactions that we have with different people, different objects, social media. All those interactions are constantly painting a picture in our mind. And if that mind is very agitated, we cannot make that mind sit in one place. So while we are interacting in the world, being very, very alert, is it painting some kind of likes and dislike in my mind? If it's something which is giving me joy, then it will be raga. I will start getting attached to that object. And if it is some object or person giving me sorrow, then I will have dvesha towards that. And both these things will be so overpowering, it will not allow me to sit down in one place. So what is a litmus test? While in Vyavahara, what is a litmus test for purity in Vyavahara? It is called as Vyavahara Shuddhi. After going through that interaction or conversation should not come back in my mind unless I want it. After having gone through any Vyavahara, that Vyavahara should not come back without us wanting it to come back. If that has happened, that means our Vyavahara was Shuddha. This, is one kind of guidance which is given, that Vyavahara Shuddhi will help us increase our ability to sit down in one place for meditation. And of course, other things are very helpful, keeping aside all, phone and distractions, at least for that time. That is a very helpful, thing to do. Now, second aspect of increasing our ability to sit in one place is to have a regular practice. Means even if mind is not fully absorbed in meditation, even if it goes here and there, different places, convincing ourselves that no matter what, I'm going to sit for 15 minutes for this much time, or every day, for this much time. So when practice gets more stronger, then moment the mind sits in that place, right, posture and everything, then automatically it gets into that meditation mode. First is to train ourselves to sit in one place, and having sat in one place, making sure that it becomes a regular practice, even if the mind is not cooperating. And sometimes we expect very quick results, that sometimes we say also that I'm not seeing any result in my sadhana. And we ask, when did you start? Last week. So that last week, it can take several months, it can take several years. And more our vyavahara, we are alert, faster is our progress. So that is one aspect of how to sit in one place. Now, second aspect is, what should I meditate on? First aspect was how to increase my ability to sit in one place. Second aspect is, having sat down, what should I meditate on? That sadhana Bhagwan is giving here. He says, Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam. Ahaha ahaha. That ahaha ahaha means every day, again and again. It should go with both sadhanas. Garva parityajyatam also, next sadhana, and the previous one. Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam. Again and again, every day, I should constantly give myself this reminders of what I have gotten conviction through Upanishad. It is not some kind of hypnotism. Right? Hypnotism also, people sometimes think that, we just sit in one place and again tell ourselves that I'm not this body, I'm Brahman. I'm not this body, I'm Brahman. But this meditation is dwelling on what is a matter of fact. So if we have done Shravanam thoroughly, done Mananam thoroughly, then our conviction will increase. So Nididhyasanam is always on what we have done Shravanam of. Meditation is always on what we have heard in Vedanta. Now the steps for meditation are different, because when we sit down in one place, for first few minutes, our mind is not available to us. So to bring that mind at least somewhere within the radar, right? We can use certain techniques. Either it is breathing technique, just counting the same number of times, for inhale and exhale. So let us say you say, I do my inhale for 5 seconds or 5 counts, trying to do the exhale also for 5 counts. Now what happens there is, if you don't put this count, even that breathing becomes mechanical. Mind will breathe, but the pranas will go on, but mind will be somewhere else. So if you try to even out the count, then you'll be alert of releasing the breath. And you'll realize exhale is more quicker sometimes than inhale. So with that, mind is brought somewhere near to where we want it to be. And once mind has settled down, then we should bring Vedantic ideas. Okay, that is the plan for this meditation. First, quietening the mind, but that itself is not the end. We should dwell on Vedantic ideas that I am this consciousness. I am ever unaffected by body, mind, etc. Brahmasmiti vibhavyatam. We should meditate on this again and again. Now, what is the obstacle in doing this meditation? That is that next portion. What stops us in owning up our nature as that pure consciousness, which is attributeless, is this garva. Garva means pride. That is why Bhagwan says, ahaha ahaha garvaha parityajyatam. Again and again, let this sadhaka give up all titles that this sadhaka has owned up. There was one Mahatma who used to say, we should always stay away from tar pratyaya. You might wonder, what is this tar pratyaya? He used to say, all these titles that come, right, have something called as tar at the end, like minister, collector, director. So he says that last tar which is there, right, that is going to be the obstacle in meditation. So he used to say, tar pratyaya se bach ke rehna. In that tar pratyaya, always stay away from it. Meaning what? When we sit down for meditation, we should not wear any hats. Sitting down for meditation is with this clear understanding that we are sadhakas wanting to establish ourselves in our true nature. Any other hat that we wear, those thoughts will come. That is the main purpose. And this is where devotion is very helpful. What devotion does is, it takes all those titles that we have, right, and binds it into only one title, which is devotee of Bhagwan. And that title is not very bothering title. It will very easily be transcended if we are able to bring it to that central point. All other things that we have should get wrapped up into one title, and we can transcend that title also with knowledge. So this is a very important sadhana for all of us. And this garva is very, very subtle. It could be for things which are our possessions, right? Things that are around us. It could be for this body also. Attributes of this body that can also give garva. Attributes of mind and intellect can also give that garva. Pride can come even with this fact that there is nobody who has understood Shastra as clearly as me. Pride can come with this fact that there is no greater sadhaka who is as good as me. Bhagwan says that pride will become an obstacle for us to go to the next step. So that is why, taking the devotional route is the best way. We saw in Tulsi Ramayana also, right? Goswamiji is doing all his great work, his beauty in composition, his eloquence in speech, the way of his expression. But all those things, he says, none of it belongs to me. It is just because of Bhagwan Shiva, who has blessed this work, that this Ramcharitmanas will have that kind of power. Means he is efficient in the world. We should not consider that this aharaha garva parityajyatam means this person becomes incompetent. He is efficient in the world, but that efficiency does not bind him, because he has tied it to Bhagwan's feet, and he can now let go of those things at Bhagwan's feet and transcend to the next step. That is the sadhana, ahaha garvaha parityajyatam. Now, there is another obstacle. One obstacle was pride, garva. Another obstacle is this strong notion that I am this body. That also will become another obstacle. So Bhagwan is telling us again and again, we should give ourselves reminders that I am not this body. It should be uprooted from its core, this thought, not the body, the thought that I am this body. There is a difference. Body can be wherever it is. As long as we maintain a healthy body, it is our friend. This we saw in the beginning of the class also, right? Healthy body means that is our best friend. We can use it to serve, we can use it to do sadhana. And some problem starts with the body, that body will become a troubling body. So to that extent, we can take care. But thinking that I am this body, Bhagwan says that is what we have to start questioning. And this notion is so deep rooted in us, it takes time, right? That is the whole part of sadhana. I feel that I'm gaining weight, I'm losing weight. How can you say I'm not the body? I saw a nice cartoon sometime that every time I lose weight, I find it back in the refrigerator. That is the strong notion that I am this body and I am gaining weight and I am losing weight. So that Bhagwan says, for a sadhaka, we should always go back to what convictions we have developed. See, this is where mananam will become important. Huh? Just because I have heard I am not the body, I won't get that conviction. I will have to do some mananam. I will have to think about it, use logic, and then come to that conclusion. Now, what happens is, whenever we hear these things, right? Give up your pride, give up this notion that you are this body. It is very contrary to our convictions. And that is where there is a tendency to argue with Shastra, to argue with the teacher who has given us this knowledge. That is where Bhagwan is giving us next sadhana, Buddha janaihi vadav parityajyatam. Means those Mahatmas who are there, who have given us this knowledge, instead of directly refuting what they are saying, we should try to see their point of view. Vada means kalaha, means argumentative, that is the direct, easiest translation for it, that we should not become argumentative with Shastra and also with Mahatmas. Just like, let us say, you are a senior programmer, right? You have worked there for around 30, 40 years in a company, and a new intern comes, and instead of learning from you, he's trying to refute all the things that you are doing. Right? He's questioning you and then trying to say this is not the way to do things and this and that. What would be your response? First thing is, you will stop giving advice. Right? He says this person knows how to figure out, let him figure out. Right? And second is, that person would not grow. The 40 years of experience, what this new intern could have gained from this person, he would have missed that point. And it might take a longer time for him to come to the same point. Even with cooking, this happens, If somebody is trying to learn a recipe and they come and ask you, very nicely how to do this, then you also feel good about it, right? You will also share what is the way to do it and everything. But let us say who is trying to learn, they come and tell you, no, this is not the way to do it. If you do this, this is good. If you do that, that is good. Then what will you do? If you are wise, you will not, give any further advice. That is what happens with Mahatmas. This is the point, that they will stop guiding us. But does it mean that we should not question? It said no. There is a difference between being argumentative and asking questions. Jijnasa it is called. Jijnasa means we are putting forth a question with the intention of understanding clearly and getting an answer for ourselves to understand what are they trying to tell us. And argumentative, vada, what is being said here is trying to refute what they are telling us. So there is a difference between both of them. Just like our Arjuna, right? Bhagwan tells him about knowledge, how great this knowledge is. And then he says, you should do karma yoga. Now, Arjuna might have wondered, Bhagwan, you told one thing and you're telling me to do something else. Now, he is not establishing or telling Bhagwan that you are confused. He says, Bhagwan, I am confused. You tell me how I should understand both these things. You praised, knowledge also, and then you told me to do karma yoga. How should I reconcile? Now, that is jijnasa. So, questioning we should do, but with this open-mindedness of understanding what is being said. And another example in Bhagavad Gita is when Bhagwan gives this teaching of meditation. 6th chapter, he is very nicely elaborating how one should sit, how one should be erect, and where to concentrate, and everything, meditation step by step, 101 of meditation. And after that, Arjuna asks, Bhagwan, I don't think this teaching is practical. He says, I want to understand how can I see this teaching for myself, because my mind is turbulent. It is as though so, difficult to control. It is easier to control a storm, but not my mind. Now you see, that is jijnasa. He's not accepting directly what Bhagwan is telling him, but he's trying to understand. Bhagwan, I want to see this in my life. You tell me how to understand it. So that is the point here. Buddha janaihi vadav parityajyatam. And every time it will happen that, why every time? Most of the times, that Shastra will tell us something which is opposed to our view of thinking. Sometimes certain things will be criticized. Now, that criticism is not for that purpose, not for that person or that object directly. It is for us to mature in our relationship with that object. What we saw as dosha darshanam. So that happens many a times, that when we hear things in Upanishads and Shastra, so our mind, sometimes tries to put obstacles. So there it is said, we should be careful. So what should we do with Buddha Jana? We should have samvada. Okay, there are different types of debates. Most of you must be familiar with it. The first one is called as vada. Okay, vada means two people who have the same knowledge, same understanding, they can come together to discuss. Like when we were studying, every class it used to happen. Swamiji's statements would be so precise and so deep that sometimes you would not understand it just by hearing it once. Now, instead of saying that, there is some confusion with the teaching, the opposite side could be, let us try to understand what did Swamiji say. So two brahmacharis, whoever used to go around used to catch them. And then you try to get clarity about this point. They will say something, you say something, they will say something, you say something. And together you try to understand that subject. And a lot of clarity dawns. Okay, in these discussions with sadhakas, right? If we have that reverence in other sadhakas, that they have also heard, they also know what the teaching is. Let me understand what they have understood. In the house also, it need not always be other sadhakas. So with that, lot of discussion happens. That is called as vada. Second is called jalpa. Jalpa means everybody has come with their own standpoint. They are discussing to establish their standpoint and not to learn anything new, neither to understand the main subject. They have already decided what is their understanding. There is no discussion then. It is just, different people sharing what their conviction is. Just like our news debates that we see sometimes, right, on the news channels. There are like 5-6 people who are, shouting sometimes at the top of their voice, but they are not there to establish any point or, understand anything together. They have come with their agenda. They will just say it and go away. That is called jalpa. Third is vitanda. Vitanda, sometimes it is called. Vitanda means it's a very, interesting form of debate where the main point is to refute other person. Whatever that person says, that I will refute. And if somebody asks me what is my view, I say, I don't have my view. But whatever you say is wrong. This example, you will see if you go to parliament. Okay, opposition party, that is all they will do sometimes. Whatever statement is made, they will find fault and refute it. But if you ask what is their, solution or point of view, they will say no. We don't have anything as of now. So basically, these are different forms. Vada is between same people, who are understanding with similar understanding, similar level. Jalpa is trying to prove my point. Vitanda is trying to refute somebody else's point. So it is said with Buddhajana, neither can we use Vada, neither can we use Jalpa. I mean, Jalpa is, far away. We should not even go there. Vitanda, no, don't go there. What we should do with Buddhajana is Samvada. Samvada means knowing that I don't understand something right now, let me seek your guidance. That is what Arjuna did. Right? Arjuna did Samvada with Bhagavan. Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishadsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade. So it is not Vada, not Jalpa, not Vitanda. It is Samvada. So with that Samvada, we grow, not only in spiritual field, but also, in our workplace and everywhere. Wherever we see people who are better than us, we should have Samvada with them. They will open up a lot of things which they would otherwise not have opened up. Okay, so we'll pause here. There are some announcements, and later we'll take a few questions. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. So there are a couple of questions from last time, and then we'll go to the ones if we have time. Is Tattvamasi considered the most important Mahavakya, or all 4 Mahavakyas are equally important? So there is nothing as important and secondary, Mahavakya. Mahavakya, all Mahavakyas are the same. But Tattvamasi is a very well-known Mahavakya because the way it has been elaborated is easy to understand. So it comes in 6th chapter of Chandogya, where systematically the Upanishad Rishi is giving out this teaching. And it's very clear, how Mahavakya has to be understood. That is very clear in Tattvamasi. So the 4 Mahavakyas which are there, the process of revealing nature of truth through those Mahavakyas is very precise. That is why they are more well known. But there are several Mahavakyas in all Upanishads. We need to have an eye to look for it. And what is that eye? Whenever Tatpada is pointed out, right? Creation is pointed out. And it is said, that which is a substratum of creation is the illuminator of my thought. That becomes Mahavakya. And sometimes just these 2 things will be given together. It will not be equated to each other. It will just be said that this consciousness, Hiranmaye Pare Koshe Virajam Brahma Nishkalam. Then we should understand that this, consciousness which is being spoken about as substratum of creation is the same which is available right here. That becomes Mahavakya. Does different philosophy arriving at non-Advaita conclusion mean it's a wrong conclusion? And they used Dustarka. So we should be careful because different philosophies will arrive at their own conclusion. That is why it becomes a different philosophy, right? They will not arrive at Advaita Vedanta conclusion. If they have arrived at our own conclusion, then there is no difference between Advaita Vedanta and them, whatever tarka they might have used. If they have come to this point that Jiva alone is Brahma and Jagat is only an appearance, then that, becomes Advaita Vedanta Siddhanta. And generally, they will not come to that point. They will end up with some other, understanding. There could be some who are talking about Advaita Vedanta only, but we say that we cannot reach to Advaita Vedanta conclusion only by logic. You will have to take support of Upanishad. At the most we can do is inquiry into oneself, just this, who is the illuminator of thought. That inquiry we can do. But understanding that this illuminator of thought itself is this all pervading consciousness, that we cannot do using logic. So I think that much is sufficient. So we should be very careful when we read, other authors who talk about Vedanta. I feel the best way is to use the time-tested path. Everything is there here, all logic is given, Shruti is also given, sadhana is given. Our Swamiji used to say, if you have thoroughly gotten this conviction, right, in this tradition, there is no way a sadhaka can go wrong. That kind of confidence, he used to give. That if you have understood how to do sadhana, lived a life which is, with all those sadhanas which are there, and done thorough shravanam, done mananam, sincerely do nididhyasanam, there is no way why knowledge will not take place. There is no way where we can get sidetracked. But here we should add another class. Bhagwan's grace should be there on us. That is the only way, I think. On intellect strength, we cannot make that statement. We can make that statement only with this strength, that if Bhagwan's grace is there on us, we will be on the right path. What is your thought on guided meditation, such as apps and some kind of voice guidance? There are different stages in our sadhana. The first stage of sadhana is to get some mahatva buddhi, means get some importance to meditation in our routine. And in doing that, if apps help, whatever helps, I think it is always beneficial. Like, for time management during the day, what is the true solution for time management? That mind should be integrated with the intellect. Then it will be able to manage its time well. While doing that, if there are some additional things that can help us, right? Like this time apps and everything that you have, you keep a track, like a time journal of every, task that you're doing. It is welcome. It is helpful. But it is not the final thing. We cannot take it as the absolute. So once we get familiar with meditation practice, it should get finer with what are we meditating on. So in most of the apps that I have come across, they will guide us into quietening the mind, either through music, guided music, or those visualization techniques that they use. All of it will help to calm the mind down. But if you want to be a thorough, sadhaka and do this nididhyasanam, we cannot circumvent that other aspect, of using Vedantic thoughts, doing shravanam, mananam, and so on. So to begin with, it is good, but we should know how to fine tune it. Would doing daily japa, like Gayatri Mantra, Mahamrityunjaya Japa, count as meditation for training the mind? So japa is another sadhana. We should not mix it up with meditation. The central training in japa is to keep our mind in one thing. Sarala chintanam. Like constantly thinking about one particular thing for a long time. That is called japa. And what is helpful is following meditation after japa. Right? If somebody is doing japa for around 15 minutes or 10 minutes, you will notice that the texture of the mind after that 10 minutes, if japa sadhana has started giving result, that mind will become very, very quiet. In that mind, you can very nicely bring Vedantic ideas. That is why in most satsang sometimes they start with Nama Sankirtanam. And more it is the same Nama Sankirtanam, right? I have seen some satsangs like 20 minutes, just Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, same thing. Now that is to quieten the mind. And once that mind has been quietened, you can bring either Vedantic ideas, do Shravanam, or you can also do it, use it for Nididhyasanam. Okay, so that is how we can look at it. The last one here is regarding what I said about developing conviction in what we study. I said that it is different from hypnotism. Can I elaborate a little more on that? Right. So when we do Nididhyasanam, sometimes there is a notion that we are just trying to create some new thought pattern. Okay, that previously I had something else that I was doing. Now I suddenly sit down and keep thinking that I am Brahma, and suddenly something will happen. Now that is not the main purpose of Nididhyasanam, right? We should always relate this topic back to valid means of knowledge. How clearly we know that, color, let us say, of this flower, right, is maroon or something. Now this is knowledge gained through valid means of knowledge. Means eyes are my valid means of knowledge to tell me that this color is maroon. Now I don't need to struggle too much to establish this fact, right? And no other means of knowledge will help me get this color knowledge. In the same way, to know that I am of the nature of consciousness, Vedanta is valid means of knowledge. That thought which has come in my mind, Prama it is called. That Prama is not any random Prama. It is gained through a valid means of knowledge. And that is what we are strengthening. We are not just strengthening any kind of thought. I am Brahman is not some random thought which has been gained through random means of knowledge. It is gained through a valid means of knowledge. That is why it is different from hypnotism. Hypnotism, I'm not an expert, so what I've understood with that is, with repetitive kind of thinking, you are trying to be what you are not. So somebody asked Vivekananda, right? That's famous statement he has. Is Vedanta trying to hypnotize you? He said, we are already hypnotized. Vedanta is trying to dehypnotize us. Thinking ourselves to be the body, he used to say, that is the hypnotism. Nobody has told us that. We ourselves have created this thought and gotten firm in this. So he used to say, Vedanta is trying to undo that and take us to what we originally are. So that Praman Vichara, more we dwell on it, stronger is the conviction in meditation. Okay. All right. So that is good for today, and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, whoever can join. Okay. Hari Om, everyone. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namah. Hari Om. Hari Om.